Welcome to the Heavenly Treasury broadcast where we help believers achieve God's financial abundance for your life. I'm your host, Ron Turba, author of the Heavenly Treasury series on biblical finance, coming to you today with a topic that I hope will help you to start the new year to figure out if you're on the right path or not. Because I'm going to tell you this, a lot of the times when we start the year, and I've talked about this in my last couple of broadcasts as well, but when you start a new year, a lot of people think that that's the time to start fresh. Really, you don't need a new year to start something fresh. And of course, God does not despise the day of small beginnings for you, particularly if you're on a new path to help you and your family achieve what you've been called to achieve. Okay? But a lot of the times people use the new year as I wouldn't use an excuse because that's not really a good word. I mean, a reason is probably a better word, but a springboard is probably the most accurate word for somebody who's using the new year to try and generate something that was better than the previous year. Okay? And again, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And really what that, and everybody, the first time people think about this is like the gym. How many of you go to the gym and you just despise the first week of the year? And not for the reasons why you think. Because a lot of you who go to the gym often, you enjoy your workouts, you're good at them, it's productive for you, all of those sorts of things. But the moment the first week of the year comes around, you see all the people whose New Year's resolution is to lose weight. The people who ate too much sugar, the people who ate too much butter, okay? But I'm one of them, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the gingerbread cookies, the sugar cookies, especially when your wife just gave birth on Christmas Eve and you're the one running around the house doing everything for people, and all of a sudden you don't have time to cook a nice meal. You just want something that's in the fridge, something that'll just give you calories that you're not just going to have to go back for. For me, those were the cookies. Those are the cookies that we made 2 or 3 days prior to Christmas. And those got scarfed up like nobody's business, all right? So, I mean, I felt like I was going back to Chuck E. Cheese when I was a kid. Getting a big pizza and just scarfing the whole thing down. It doesn't really matter, okay? But yeah, that's really, but going back to the gym, I mean, that's typically what most people are going to do at the start of the year, is to lose weight or make more money. Those are the two biggest New Year's resolutions, is to lose more weight or make more money. And what happens throughout the month of January? And for those of you who are seasoned gym goers, who are regular and committed and disciplined, you know exactly what happens every single year. It's like Groundhog Day all over again. The same people they don't know how to use the equipment. Obviously, you can't really tell from a physical perspective who's the first time gym goer and who's the regular occurrence, because everybody ate their fill at the end of last year. Okay, everybody does. You're with family. What do you like to do? You eat. I love I was watching Jim Valvano, who's the legendary head coach of North Carolina State, who won that I think it was 82 or 83 title game when he was a double-digit seed and just beat all these underdogs. This guy was giving a speech one time about his Italian family. He says, you know what we do? We eat. When noontime comes around, we eat. Halftime around 6 o'clock. Finish the game around midnight. They just eat. They're literally 12 hours straight. And I know a lot of you guys like that. Okay, so when you get to the gym, what are you gonna do? You're gonna try to get on the treadmill. So you're a seasoned gym goer. You know the people who come in don't really know what the heck they're talking about. Don't really know what they're doing. They just grab a weight that they know. They have no idea if it's the right weight, the wrong weight. It's hope something to get those calories burning. Okay, you understand? And what happens after week 2? Some of them will still be there because nobody gives up after 6 or 7 days. But what happens after that? Then they start going home and they don't come back. They do it every single year. Some people are in week 2. Some people do it in week 3. Some people do it in month 2. All right. But again, all these people are dropping off at some point, and then they go back to living the same year that they lived the previous year. Well, if that's you, we're putting you on a different path today. And we're going to show you how to do that, starting with who's on your side. Who's on your side? And what do I mean by that? Who's on your side on the path that the Lord has for you? Who's on it? Okay. Love the sunshine coming in. Okay. Beautiful time of year. Even though it's January and cold, it's pretty out here in West Tennessee. Love it to death. Okay. But it is what it is. All right. So when we figure out who's on our side, we're gonna start thinking about who's gonna help us achieve what God has called us to achieve. Because whatever your calling is, and I'm gonna tell you this right now, whatever your calling is, okay, it's gonna require a lot of folks with you. You're going to be talking to a lot of folks. You're going to have a lot of folks on your side. You're going to have a lot of folks leave, okay? And we're going to talk about that very, very shortly as well. So the key scripture that I want to speak about right now is this. It's Ecclesiastes 4:12, right? And here it is. Although one might be overpowered, two withstand him, and a threefold cord is not readily broken. So basically, what does that mean? It's a lot better to fight the good fight when you have somebody else on your side. Preferably two people. And again, hopefully more. Because if you're going to do what God's called you to do, you're going to have influence. And influence means people are going to follow you. Okay? They are going to follow you. All right? Now give me one moment here. Okay? All right? So people are going to follow. You're going to have influence. That means you're going to be influencing people. And that means if you're going to be influencing people, that means likely you've been influenced by somebody. Whoever that is. Whoever that is. Okay? So what I want you to think about is, what is my calling? What's going to get me the abundance that the Lord has for me? And most importantly, who's going to stick with me from now until the end of time? Okay? Or until you meet Jesus, whenever that is, whether he comes back to earth or you go up to heaven, whichever one that is. So what is that going to look like? All right. So I want you to think about this really, really quickly. And I give credit to some pastors that I do listen to on a very regular basis for my spiritual food. One of them said your income is going to match your 3 or 5 closest friends, whomever they are. All right. And I thought about that for a second, and it's like for most of the time that's true. Because if you're somebody who is, again, working at a retail store, nothing against that whatsoever, okay? But if you're working at a retail store and you're comfortable working at that retail store, okay? That's the dream and goal and ambition that you have for the moment. Again, not taking anything away from that where you are, okay? But let's think about this. What are the folks whose big dream is to work in retail, and people who are satisfied working in retail for many, many years? What does their life look like? Is it a life of abundance? Likely not. I mean, again, not taking away from anybody who works in retail. Promise you that. But if that's the same position you've been in for the last 20 years, maybe we need to start thinking about some things. But if it's just you starting out and you just got a job there and you've been working there for 2 or 3 weeks, that may be where you're at right now. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But when we think about where we need to go from there, once you start getting a better skill set, a better mindset, and of course, that's what we talked about in the previous broadcast about the pillars of increase, then we start talking about the avenue. And once you get both of those, a lot of the times you'll be able to find that the Lord is going to provide you with the avenue that's going to help you get to where you want to go. All right? So again, and then you'll move up, and then you'll move to something else. You'll move to whatever else is next. Some of you may get another job somewhere. Some of you may start a business. Some of you may get affiliated with a company where you sell their products, something along those lines. Whatever that may be, it's another step towards the path that the Lord has for you. Okay? But if somebody is been working in retail for literally 30 years and they're the same position that they've had for 30 years, again, that's not somebody who's going to achieve the abundance and the wherewithal and have the influence that the Lord wants you to have. Okay? Again, I'm not taking anything away from that if that's where you are right now. So, what do we do from here? If that's you. What does this threefold cord really look like? All right? So, I want to draw this out really, really quickly for you. Okay? So, this is something that I think I've drawn on another broadcast at some point, but I want to draw it out right here as well. All right? So here is, let's get our marker right here. Let's get a little bit thinner. Let's go right here. All right, here's you. and you have a group of folks that are with you, whatever that is. Maybe right now you're in college, and you're going to meet a lot of people that are in that similar boat. Or maybe you're at your first job out of college. This is where I really got this really hit home for me. Okay, and here's you. Here's a group A, and they're happy here. Group A is happy here because you're there. You're there. Group A is there, and for most people, if this is most people. If you're in this group, which is where it's some job somewhere, some company, whatever it is, and you're all working there. For a lot of people, it's going to take them a very long time before they realize, hey, I need to make not a better decision, but a different decision to get where I want to go. All right. And for you, if you've been watching this broadcast, you know very well that if that's you right now, you're not going to be there for very long. But if it's for the average person who's out there, whatever it is, for Group A, they're going to be there for a long time. And Group A makes a certain sum of money. And guess what? When you're in that job, you're also going to make that certain same sum of money. That's why we talk about that. Like I just said, your income is likely the result of your 3 to 5 closest friends. Okay, and if you're at a job for 50 hours a week, well, where's the majority of your time spent? At work. So who are you most likely interacting with all the time? The people at work. So whose income does yours likely match? The people at work. Now, here's the thing. Now let's say you decide I'm getting on a different path. I'm getting on the path that the Lord has for me. Okay? And you jet off right here. As you get here, well, Group A says, well, you're still kind of in our circle. We still kind of we like you because we're here. You think similar to us. At least we think you do. All right? But as you continue moving forward at the path that the Lord has for you, now you're going to get here, which is sort of on the edge, where Group A says, you know what? You're still kind of with us, but maybe you're not really with us. Okay? All right? But then you start getting a little bit further ahead. And by ahead, I don't necessarily mean income-wise yet, although the income is going to follow the pillars that I discussed about in the pillar of increase in the previous broadcast. But as soon as you exit that little box, guess what's going to happen? Group A is just going to start hating you. And you're going to be criticized beyond freaking belief. Even though you're not where you need to be or want to be yet, you've made a decision that I want something different and better for my life. I want to get the abundance. I'm tired of having inflation destroy my income. So I've got to get on a better path. All right? Because if you work in retail, 12 months from now, even no matter what pay increase you get, inflation is going to take the majority, if not all of it. All right? And for somebody like, and again, if that's you right now and you say, I'm doing something different, now you're outside of the little bubble. Okay? And then you're going to get to your next step, which is right here. We have another box. And it is a little smaller because as you move up and you get more abundant in your life, the circle of friends that are also on that same level shrinks. All right? I mean, just sort of as an example, here's the income. This is income of Americans. You got a very slight sliver right here. You got a little bit more. Okay, this is a ton of money, lots of money, and then so on and so forth. And each level that you go up, there's less people there. So there's no money and lots of money. So all the way up here. And as you move from the here to there, and then here to there, you can see the sliver of the pyramid gets smaller. There's less people there. All right? This is not, it doesn't matter what society we ever have. Every single society on the history of planet Earth has operated just like this. Every single one. A democracy, a dictatorship, a monarchy, an anarchy, a communism, fascism, all of it. A democratic republic, which is what we have here. Every single one is operated the exact same way. And that has always been and will always be till the end of time. Okay? And then when you move from here to there, well, guess what? There's even less people. There's even less people. So we go back here to where you are. Now you're in. Now here's you. You've achieved right there. Group B. All right. And you're going to do the same thing there. You got to stay there until you get a better mindset, better skill set. You start producing better in this group B, whatever this is. It could be a business. It could be a club, something along those lines that's going to help you achieve the next step. But what you're going to do next when you start getting more abundance, you're going to start getting even more. So now you're going to go up even there to group C. Okay? Group C. And now you're here. Guess what? Even less people. Here's the other thing. What is group A going to see? Are they going to look at you and say, wow, nice job. Well done. I can't believe you made that decision? No. There may be somebody here who's happy for you, but most of them are not, because you are on a different path and you have achieved that different path. Because in the last 2 years, when you started achieving abundance, well, guess what happened with group A? All right, let me get this out of here. All right, what happened with group A? They stuck the same. They stayed the same, but you grew and your income grew with you. Your assets grew with you. You're on the other side of town. You're not in a rat-infested apartment anymore. You have your own place. Maybe it's not a mansion yet, but you still have your own place. They don't. They're still living in a basement somewhere, or they're living with 6 other people because they can't afford to pay rent because it's going up faster than their income. And every single year, they got to make choices that literally shrink everything that they have. They do. Okay? But when you get on this path, this is what's going to be like this. So, the question you have to ask yourself is this. Who around you is going to stick with you from group A all the way up to group C, and then even on to group D, to group E, and so forth? Who's going to stick with you? That's the key you have to ask yourself, because you've got to have somebody who's going to stick with you. That's the key. That's what that threefold cord meant. Because you can see it doesn't say, well, you got to have five different people. When it comes to the strength in numbers, God's not really keen on, at least from what I can tell, from all the study that I've done on the Bible, most of the time, God is more obsessed with quality than he is over quantity. And the one story that gets to me is one of the Old Testament stories where somebody went out and hired a group of, I think it was 10 or 15,000. I'm sorry, I'm butchering the story right now, but 10 or 15,000, one of the kings did, to go fight his enemies. And God sent a priest and spoke through that priest and said, listen, send all those people back. I don't care how much money you paid them, send them back. They're not the right people. And then he says, well, who am I supposed to get? I'll show you. And then maybe 100 people showed up. And so the guy went from 10 of thousands people in his army to now just 100 or 200. Well, guess what? He ended up winning the battle with those key people. Okay? That's what God values. God values quality a lot more than quantity. And you're going to have, if you're going to get to this point and pass all these different groups, you're going to have somebody on your side who's also has that desire to go through from group to group to group and go further and further and further and further. You have to have somebody in your life that does that. Otherwise, you'll never achieve what God's called you to achieve. I'm very thankful that I have somebody like that in my life. It took a 5-day fast to get him, but he's there. And I'm very thankful for him. He's somebody that I will literally be talking with I'm not going to say every single moment, but on a regular basis from now until the end of my life or the end of his life, whichever one comes first. I'm very thankful for it. And if that's you, you need somebody right here. You need somebody who, regardless of the setbacks that you have, and you will have setbacks, and you will have challenges. Somebody who's not going to look at you and say, ha, 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 ha. Because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. When you decide to do this, and you decide to move up and up and up, the people from group A, as you get to say right here, all right, then maybe, again, they're still in the bubble, so they're saying, okay, he's still with us. Maybe he's squandering a little bit, floundering a little bit compared to us, but, he's with us. But the moment you get right here, and you're outside of that little box of what Group A believes in and their theology and their worldview. Those things along those lines that really help produce a good income and an abundance that you're supposed to have, they're going to start criticizing you like you wouldn't believe. Okay? And they're never going to be able to walk with you. They're going to pull you back instead of push you up. And there's a lot of cultures, a lot of you, again, the Lord has called every single one of us to be a blessing to every nation. And I hope that there's multiple ethnicities watching, even though I'm very keen on my own ethnicity. Again, very, very grateful. And you know, I love helping my own, which is, you know, pure blood heritage Americans. Love it. That's who it came from. Okay. But there's other cultures that I have interacted with, particularly as our country has become more multicultural, that right, wrong, or indifferent. I've interacted with a lot more cultures, and a lot more of them that I have seen, if somebody starts to move ahead, their kin will pull them back. They will literally pull them back and say, you're not supposed to rise higher. You're supposed to be, all right? Okay? So that's what we're talking about here, all right? What is this channel about? So basically this channel is about biblical finance. To put it in a nutshell, that's what we're talking about here. So we're talking about how to move on the path that the Lord has for you and your abundance in your walk of life. That's a really good question. Okay, I know this may think, what the heck does this have to do with God or the Bible or anything like that? Well, that's why this broadcast is very different. It's very different. Okay, and every single time I come on here to discuss this, no matter who joins, whether it's 1 or 100 or 1,000, we're going to talk about things that are really pertinent to people, especially as we jump into the new year and living a better year this year than you did the previous year, and living a better year next year than you did this one. So, and one of the things we're talking about right now is the fact that you have to understand that you need people in your life that are going to support you regardless of the choices and support and direction that you want to go and the Lord has called you to go in your life. Because we're called to achieve massive abundance as Christians. We're supposed to be called to such a greater and mightier abundance that anybody else has. And ultimately speaking, when people are the biggest struggle that we have in this country is financial. It is. You can put health up there too, but most people, especially when we just had an election, the biggest thing that people are worried about is the economy. All right. And so the church, especially when we serve a God who lives on streets paved with gold, that's what we want to talk about and live in abundance. Because when people see Christian, they should see an abundance that the other outside non-Christians do not have. And that's what this channel talks about. Okay, so that's a really good question. That's what we're discussing here. And how to get somebody on your side regardless of where you want to go or what you're called to do. Okay? All right. And so again, when you start getting out of the very first group of people that you're around and start moving up to a better level, the moment you make any sort of stumblings or any sort of setbacks whatsoever, all right, that's what when you get right here and outside of this little box of where you're supposed to believe if you're in Group A, well, guess what? They're going to start criticizing you. They're going to say, see, you can't do it. Come back with us. Okay? And so really, again, very grateful for the people that are in my life. Very grateful for the people that have been around me, that continue to push me forward regardless of what happens. Okay? And so that's what we want to discuss here today, because in order for you to get on the right foot and continue going, you're going to need somebody like that in your life who also has a desire to move ahead, particularly when it comes to your finances. Okay? So really that's what we're talking about here today. And again, really, really good question. And that's what we discuss. All right. Every single time I come on this broadcast, we're going to discuss some sort of topic from the Bible about your finances that's going to help move you forward and move you better. So you're not wiped out by anything that goes on in the economy, the markets, inflation, housing, whatever the heck that is, jobs, sectors, all that stuff. We're going to get you on a better path that's on a consistent path of increase. All right? That's what we do on this channel. Okay? And again, this is probably the last place you ever in a million years would dream of finding something like this. But here I am. We're broadcasting here on Twitch, broadcasting on YouTube, Facebook as well. Okay? So yeah, that's what we talk about here. And really glad you found us. Hopefully you got some value out of this. Okay? So really that's what we're talking about, because no matter what we do with our lives, No matter what path we're supposed to be on, we're always going to have challenges. We're going to always have some setbacks here and there. You've got to have somebody in your life who's not going to be afraid to help be with you and say things maybe you didn't like, but definitely things that are going to help pick you up and move you forward. All right. Because again, especially if you're a business owner or you have a desire to be a business owner or whatever the heck economic opportunity you're going to work at, a lot of the times you're going to have people tell you no. You're going to have people tell you you're an idiot. You're going to have people tell you that you shouldn't do what you're doing. But you've got to have somebody in there who says, you know what? That's okay. It's okay. No, next person. All right. So with that being said, that's what we're talking about here today. And next time we'll talk about something else that's going to help move you forward as well. So with that being said, thank you so much for everyone who joined, and take care, everybody, and have a